What's up, YouTube? Capital G here. We're talking anime talk. It is Hunter x Hunter time. We're going to get the entire Greed Island arc, review, synopsis, retrospective, whatever you want to call it. We're talking Hunter x Hunter in this video, and we're doing the full shebang. First off, man, shout outs to Nim Nim. He put me on this whole pink shirt swag thing. Best $4.50 I ever spent at Walmart. Real talk. Gucci. All right, so Greed Island. I would say it was, I guess, my overall opinions of it. It was not a bad arc, but it definitely, in my opinion, was the weakest arc in Hunter x Hunter so far. I felt like the show got away from some of its roots. There weren't a whole lot of just amazing fights. Probably, I would say just even amazing conflicts, maybe 2 in the entire arc. And I felt like the story lost so much of that amazing dark spirit that it had worked up for York City, you know, where you basically had 2 storylines. I mean, you had Kurapika, him joining the mob, him trying to get revenge on the spiders, and then you had Gon and Kill, and them basically trying to get Greed Island. And let's just be honest, one of those storylines was infinitely more interesting than the other. Kurapika's storyline was way more fascinating than Gon and Kill. And I look at Greed Island, and I'm just like, there wasn't a lot of greatness in the island. You know, there wasn't a lot of greatness in the island arc. Now, the setting I actually digged a lot. I like the whole concept of going into a virtual reality, you know, world. And, you know, obviously they have to go here. They have to try and beat the game because they're trying to get information from Jing or his location or something. What I didn't actually love, and I actually just pulled this out of a binder, was just this whole card game elements. And I know that it's irony at its highest that, you know, my whole channel is based around Yu-Gi-Oh! And for me to be criticizing an anime, you know, for too much of a card game. But it just felt like they put all of these little intricate rules in place, and they spent so much time explaining them, like, oh, these cards can only be activated so many times, and they named them and they gave them effects and all of this. And at the back of my mind, I'm just like, why do I care? Does any of this fucking matter? When this arc ends in 20 episodes or whatever the hell it is, am I going to care about any of this? Is any of this ever going to be relevant again? And the answer is no. I almost felt like the producers of Hunter x Hunter were like trying to sell me on a card game or something like that, even more than they were focused about just making an amazing arc. One of the other downfalls about Greed Island is, I mean, I'm just going to be honest, pretty much out of all the characters that you're going to meet in Greed Island, Bisky is, I mean, she's easily the most fascinating and interesting. I love Bisky a lot. You're never going to hear me say anything negative about her. She's pretty much it. Bisky is, she's one of the characters at the end of the arc, I was like, wow, I'm really going to miss her. You know what I mean? She instantly had a bond with the children because she was Wing Sensei, which in essence made her their sensei. So it's like she had instant credibility with them. And the information she provided for them, the training that they did, it was all pretty good. You know what I mean? Like, even just the training that they were doing where they were, you know, digging through mountains and stuff, I was like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. And when they fight, like, we're going to see the ends. We're going to see, you know, these guys get so much stronger. And Bisky was a character that was pretty awesome, but that was pretty much it. If you're looking for awesome characters in this arc, you're just not going to find many because they're far and in between. It's very shallow when it comes to that. You have so many characters that they introduce that either don't get enough screen time for them to properly develop, or you're just kind of like, you get that feeling that I felt. It's like, is anybody in Greed Island not for the money? I mean, because Gon and Kill pretty much seem like the only ones who were trying to beat this game not for monetary value. And it ends up kind of watering down all the other characters that they introduce. It's like, you're in it for money, you're in it for money, you're in it for money. I mean, now it's kind of hard for me to separate this guy from this random guy from this other random guy who I don't really care about either. Bisky was the only character, in my opinion, who stood out, even with some of the other characters having pretty significant, you know, interactions with Gon and Kill. Now, there were a couple of other things that kind of bothered me. Like, for one, why the fuck were the Phantom Troop there? I mean, they basically had no dealings. They showed up for like half an episode, tried to come in through the island, you know, through like the back of the island. And then the big strong guy was like, no, you guys can't come in. And the Phantom Troop were like, okay, we'll just leave. And it's like, what? Like, why are they even here? If they're not going to be brutally awesome and do really hype shit, then just don't even put them in the arc because it doesn't make sense. And it kind of feels like fan service / teasing. You know what I mean? Because now I'm looking at the arc and I'm like, wait, is the Phantom Troop going to show up? Like, man, I hope Phaeton does something really fucking awesome. And then it's like, oh, okay, he's not in here and they're not doing anything. And I don't know. I kind of feel like you just trolled me or something like that. One of the other things, the big bad, the villain of the arc, the bomber. He was, okay, his fight was amazing. His fight with Gon, that was probably easily the hypest shit on the entire arc. I mean, I won't say anything bad about that. It was amazing. It had a lot of strategy. When Gon got his arm kind of just blew the fuck up, that was really hyped. And then he used Jinjaku on him, you know, rock before scissors and paper and all of that stuff. The problem is, I really didn't find him that interesting of a character either. You know what I mean? I mean, he kind of is just this bland, blonde-haired guy with sunglasses. He's working with 2 other members. All they want to do is get paid. He wasn't anywhere near as interesting as the Spider or any of its members. I mean, when you first met Evogan, that motherfucker was raw as hell. I mean, he was killing people left and right. He came and found Kurapika after saying that he wouldn't rest until he basically had Kurapika's head. Then he challenged him to a one-on-one death match. I mean, there were just so many layers of awesomeness. With the bomber, it was like, I like his power. I like the fact that he's kind of strong-arming and eliminating all the other members of Greed Island so that he can kind of simplify it and make it easier for his faction to win. But overall, there was nothing about him outside of his actual ability that made him, you know, that hype or that cool or anything like that. And I kind of felt like I was deceived when him and Gon were fighting because the show really never introduced him. They never insinuated at all that he was like an A-class martial arts expert. But then he's fighting Gon hand to hand. He's kind of just beating the shit out of him. And I'm like, wait, what? Gon just did all this training. And now you're telling me that this random guy who, while is the villain, hasn't really shown any physical ability to beat anybody's ass, is just whooping our hero's ass? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? We know Hisoka's a badass. We know the Phantom Troop are badasses by the actions that they did leading up to some of their big battles. With the bomber, he hadn't really done anything to prove that he was like a fucking OG like that. So when he's kind of beating Gon's ass, I'm like, okay, this is cool, but it's just like what? Where is this coming from? There were also a whole bunch of moments in Greed Island where I felt like the show kind of used the cards to kind of replace action fights and stuff like that. You know, the scene where the guy who teams up with Gon during the dodgeball event is kind of just running from Bomber and his guys, and they're just like, transport here, transport there, transport here. Oh, we have more transports than you. It was like, what is going on here? Like, are you motherfuckers gonna fight or not? Because this is just boring me to death. Speaking of the dodgeball event, that was probably the second hypest thing that they did in the arc. Randomly, Hisoka kind of just joins up with these guys right here. And I found it to be, it was so random as far as completing one of the tasks, but it was really satisfying. Like, I feel like Greed Island would have been a much better arc if, instead of, you know, the factions all kind of being blown up by the bomber, if maybe these 3 would have had to fight a couple of them for, you know, some of their cards, because, you know, it seemed like the show just kind of took the easy way out. Like, all right, instead of all of these factions kind of having huge battles with each other, they're just going to find these little cheap ways of stealing cards from each other, you know, left and right. And it's like, okay, that's really anti-hype in my opinion. You know what I mean? It's an arc where it just felt like it was a placeholder between York City and Chimera Ant arc. You have these 2 amazing arcs, and then you kind of have this 25 episodes in the middle, and it's like, maybe we're just not going to expend all of our energy. So overall, it was okay. I don't think it was great. I don't think it was horrible. You know, I definitely wouldn't recommend that you skip it. Let me know what you guys think. We're going to be talking about Chimera Ant arc. I'm going to have to break that down into 2 different episodes. I'll probably do that anime talk on Tuesday or Wednesday, somewhere about that. Thank you guys for watching as always. If you like Hunter x Hunter, if you like any of anime talk, then go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, you probably should, because I talk about anime, I talk about children's card games. I basically post content on a daily basis. And for anybody out there who really enjoys my content and loves this channel, if you would be ever so generous to check out my Kickstarter, consider donating $1 or $2. That's all I'm really asking. Now, I don't really want to ask anybody for more than $2 because that just, I felt a little uncomfortable about that. But if you consider checking out my Kickstarter, you can really help me out, help me get the equipment that I strive to get so that I can keep giving you guys good quality videos. Thank you guys for watching as always.